Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to see you all here or hear you all here. Wonderful Wednesday again, right?
It is wonderful Wednesday and spring. It's so pretty. I wish I could just carry you over and show you the dogwoods. We have pink
Oh, yeah.
dogwoods in
Uh-huh.
bloom, and they are fabulous right now.
Yeah,
So
spring
pretty.
is gorgeous. Here we
Yeah,
get and tulips are amazing.
yeah.
Unfortunately, they don't last very long. We got these gorgeous tulips that show up for maybe a month every year. And same thing with rhododendrons, right? They go berserk, right about this time of year, and they're awesome. I wish it lasted longer.
Yes, I do too. I do too. But it's hey, we've gotta appreciate what we get.
That's
Tulips,
it.
trees, all the blossoms. It's so beautiful. Yes,
Be
it
ye,
is. This is really live, Pat. It's,
be ye ever thankful.
uh, hey, listen. Well, we want to touch on. We've got a few things we want to touch on tonight, of course. But I want to. We were going to start with Oregon. I almost said Florida. Don't know why, but why we're going
Yeah.
to start with Oregon.
Yes.
And I I pulled up some stories. Actually, I got them from Oregon Watchdog, which I'm going to put a link in a while from them. And but this story is that about a virtually invisible political party reels in a whopper of a donation. So you all probably are seeing what's going on through legacy media, but so that's where I thought when I saw this story. It says, now the question is, how will the Working Family Party of Oregon spend its windfall? Well, what did they get? They got $340,000. That's a huge donation. It is. Who did they get it from? They got it from the National Working Family Party National PAC. And it is actually it's one of the largest donations written in Oregon politics this year.
Mhm.
And it's also one of the most mysterious
Do
because
they
they
have a
normally keep a low profile. They've only got 8,387 registered members.
do they have a website with a platform, that sort of thing?
I don't know that, Don, and maybe our audience can look them up and see. It's the state's fifth largest political party, and their transactions have been pretty small. In 2022, the PAC recorded $250,000 in contributions from
Mhm.
Gloria Page, but it immediately spent on advertising for the Democrat gubernatorial nominee Tina Kotek. So
Mhm.
that gives you the alliance.
Okay.
Well, we are coming into election season, right? The
Mhm.
in November, May is our primary, November's the general, and
Mhm.
I'm going to guess that this is going to be quickly spent as well. That's
Mhm.
the reason they're maybe using their PAC as a pass through from the National Party, which is not uncommon, quite frankly, to help candidates.
Yeah.
Um, but I was surprised to learn in this that 8,387 registered members
Yeah.
out of nearly 4 million people that live in Oregon.
I have to plead ignorance on this one. I mean, is there a prominent person that they're a prominent person running, or they have someone they're supporting, or is it just where's the money going? We don't
Well,
know.
we don't know where the money's going. The Working Families National PAC has, in the recent past, received hefty contributions
Mhm.
from PACs funded by two billionaires who support criminal justice reform.
Mhm.
Like Schmidt's platform, and that is George Soros's Democracy PAC and Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg's Accountable Justice Action Fund.
Yeah, because see, this is one
So
of those things. Whatever the name of a legislation is, or the name of a group is, you can be guaranteed that they're the opposite of what they say. So the ACLU is not about American civil liberties. The NAACP is not about advancing colored people.
Right, exactly.
The labor unions ain't about helping labor.
No, no.
And
In fact, they've been shipping jobs out of America, quite frankly,
oh,
aiding with that.
yeah, that's a fundamental principle that you've got to realize. Whatever the name of something is, it's the opposite, or at least you should be highly suspicious of that.
So, reporting, because of all of the political action committees, the PACs, they all have to report what their income is and what their
Mhm,
money is spent on. So it'll be disclosed at some point, and
mhm,
maybe we'll find out, do a follow-up on that. But I
sure.
wanted to bring that up because I thought, what are they spending that on?
Mhm,
And so, we'll see. And I'm going to guess it's going to be the Secretary of State's
mhm,
position or Attorney General.
mhm.
That's what I would say. Those are two key races in the state of Oregon in this coming election. So
You know,
that's
yeah. And the thing about the attorney general one is like it's one of the ones that flies under the radar. Very few people can name the attorney general. Everybody can name the president, right? Or they can name the governor, maybe the senators, but nobody knows who the attorney general is. But the thing is, they're the ones that enforce the laws. It doesn't matter what laws get passed or don't get passed if they're not going to get enforced. These guys selectively decide which ones they're going to enforce. So you could argue that this position might be as important as the other ones.
This is a very important position. And in fact, it's a great segue into it because there are four candidates running in Oregon for Attorney General in the primary. Two are Democrats and two are Republicans.
Mhm.
So there is Republican Will Lathrop, Democrat Dan Rayfield, and Democrat Shana Maxey Pomerantz, and Republican Michael Cross.
Mhm.
And I posted a link to this article, and I want to tell you, don't be snookered by Michael Cross. He's not an attorney, doesn't have legal background. He, in my opinion, runs as this is not the first time he's ever run for attorney general. And he always runs opposing another Republican. He does things there's a history of Michael Cross in the Republican Party. He filed the ballot, or not ballot, but a petition on both times to recall Kate Brown when Chairman Bill Currier had filed the original petition to recall Kate Brown. Michael Cross filed a petition to recall Kate Brown. So you had two competing petitions. People didn't know which one they signed,
Mhm.
and there it failed. He does have a criminal record. I recommend you Google him up. And also, he did that twice in the recall.
Mhm.
He is not a person of ethics. He has sued a handicapped woman. I'm so glad he lost. He still owes her money. In fact, I do believe to pay her attorney fees. So I don't want to say for sure, but I do believe. So, yes, games are played, Pat. This is politics.
Mhm.
So vote for Will Lathrop. I'm telling you, that is the guy we need for Attorney General.
Yeah.
He's has the legal background, the know-how, the fortitude, and the ethics and the
Ethics.
character. The ethics
Ethics. You
and the
said
character that we want in an
ethics.
Attorney
Anyone?
General.
Ethics. Ethics.
Yeah, ethics.
In
We
short
need ethics.
Holy smokes! Short supply.
It is. It is. And he does have ethics. He's a great guy. So I just wanted to tell you that's what we have running for Attorney General.
Mhm.
And it's going to be well, if you need to get yard signs for Will and a few others, you contact their campaign or contact your county party because they probably have them. Contact your county Republican Party. They probably have them. In fact, I just got some here in Umatilla County. And if anybody needs one, you can reach out to me and we'll see about getting you campaign signs. So we've got to get Will Lathrop elected. Another thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm going to post this link as well, and this comes from the Oregon Catalyst again, is about 60. There are 60 sneaker taxes that are going to be on local ballots. And you need to know about this beforehand. And he breaks it down, they break it down. The Taxpayer Association of Oregon has broke it down by county, and they put in red the ones that they recommend you oppose and think are excessive or wrong. And
Hmm.
I'm real happy to say there are zero new tax bills proposed in Umatilla County. And so Morrow County is asking for a gas tax. So they're all on there. There's a lot. It's my heavens. And there's the local option tax. If
Hmm.
you don't vote for it, then your taxes on your property go down. There's one in Clackamas that is a zoo tax bond. They're
Hmm.
recommending a no vote, and also for urban renewal. So at least you have this information instead of opening up your voter pamphlet and going, "Oh my gosh, I never heard of these things."
Well, I
You
tell
can
you,
start looking
in,
them
in the
up and learn about it.
in the absence of any other information, and this is what I'd always told my kids growing up, any legislation that results in another rule or increases the tax, just vote no. You can't go wrong. Particularly in a time period where you know uh, people are struggling. I mean, everybody else is having to tighten their belts. The government should tighten their belts too. I mean, how dare they go to people and ask them to pay more taxes? It's like insane.
Yeah. Yes, but these are the counties, and
Hmm.
they get their income from the people that live there.
Hmm.
And sometimes these local things are a good thing. We have one here that helps with we have a little aquatic center in my town,
Hmm.
and helps with the parks and the aquatics, and the golf course as well. So there's a little bit for that, but this is your choice.
Hmm.
This is where your choice. Unfortunately, those people that don't own property, they get to vote for these two.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't hurt
And
them.
they do not realize that, oh, sure, I don't pay any property tax, but that means they pay rent.
Oh, you
And
pay taxes
all the
somewhere,
taxes that go up, so does their rent.
right? Yeah, you're going to get hit somewhere, right?
You are. There's no free lunch.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing that people think that way. I can vote for something at somebody else's dime, but the boomerang effect is always there. It always comes back to get you. It's like
Yes.
they used the healthcare as an example. You want like free healthcare. Yeah, you can get free healthcare, but you're not going to get good doctors under that system, or you're going to
Right.
wind up waiting in line a long time. You're going to less quality care. Um, that's what's going to happen. So you pay. You just pay a different way.
Yes. Yes, you do. And so somebody mentioned Coos. Pat says about Coos County, and they have Myrtle P. fire levy, a police levy, and a school bond.
Hmm.
So they've got three in Coos County. I'm just so happy there isn't any in mine. Let me tell
Well,
you.
the possible exception to the rule would be to build more prisons. Um, Depending on the municipality, that would be my exception to the rule. I'll
Yes.
pay for that.
Yes. Absolutely. So another thing I wanted to bring up was, Senator, we talked about last week, Senator Wyden was coming to Southern Oregon and having town halls. Well, he's going to have to reschedule them. And because he got stuck in Washington, D.C. So he is not going to be there on Tuesday and Wednesday, which is what he wanted to do. So
Or at least that's
that
what he said he wanted to do.
that's what he said he wanted to do. So he's hoping to still come, but because it's good for the conservatives
Mhm.
to go visit.
Hmm.
Senator Ron Wyden, when he holds his
Well,
town halls.
I'm
Yes,
sure that yeah,
yes,
he
indeed.
can't be thrilled about going to Southern Oregon.
I think it just the water rolls off his back like a duck, like a duck's back. I don't
Right.
think he really cares. He's just checking the box. Yep, been to my district. I've been to all the counties,
Well,
and I that's because I've seen him speak. I've gone
mhm,
to his town hall,
mhm,
and so I'm speaking from my experience.
mhm,
And I went, and I was shocked to see who introduced him. And I go, oh, okay, now even though you're claimed to be a Republican, I think you're really a Democrat. It
mhm,
was eye opening to see who was there. And there were several people that were there, and we had a really nice conservative contingency, but they pass out numbers in order to ask a question, and boy, they didn't ask any one of us.
shocking.
They didn't call on our number.
Shocking.
That's how they were. He was received pretty good, Lori, actually, but there wasn't a lot of people. It was held in Pendleton
Hmm.
and at BMCC, and I mean, there was probably six of us and 15 of them, so it wasn't a lot of people.
Well, the bottom line is what we suffer from in rural areas. You just don't have the numbers for them to care. And since these people aren't ethical, the one thing they care about is who can get them in office,
Yeah,
and that would be Multnomah and Clackamas and Washington County. That's what can you say?
exactly, exactly. So, hey, we've got a story about dirty jobs,
Mhm.
Don.
Yeah. Oh, I think that is such a great. And I don't know if you all follow this. I think there's a couple of YouTube channels dedicated to this. But this is a guy, I can't think of his name, but he funds and gives scholarships.
Mike Rowe.
Mike Rowe, yep, to kids who, and he's been on Fox several times, news, but he gives scholarships to kids who do jobs that don't require, well, just require a high school diploma. And he's been advocating, and he's been doing this, I think, since the late 80s. Think about jobs that, so steam fitters, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, construction, right? And he's been predicting for years that there was going to become a time where there are too many degrees floating around, where people get out and they don't have anything from a skill set perspective. And now we're seeing that come to fruition. That combined with the high cost of getting those degrees. And so I was
Mhm.
just looking at that article, and I saw him on one of those stations like last week, I think it was. But I just some quick and dirty stats. So trade schools enrollment's up 16%, construction job seeking's up 23%. So people are figuring this out on their own. So you can go that route and get yourself close to a six-figure income by the time you're like 25, or you can go to college and be 25 and be like 100K in the hole, right, and work in a
Right.
Starbucks. And people are starting to see this. And then one other thing, I thought this was really interesting. There are schools starting to pop up that are colleges that are designing themselves around the construction trades. So, or these trades. So, for example, there's one in Steubenville. It's a Catholic college. It's St. Joseph the Worker is the name of it. It's in Steubenville, Ohio. I think it opened like 4 or 5 years ago. And what
Hmm.
they do is they keep the costs really low. You go to school and you learn a trade, and you get a traditional university education on top of that. So when you graduate, when I say liberal arts, I mean in the positive sense of what a university degree used to mean. So you have that, and you learned a trade at the same time. So and they have people that are in the trades who are apprenticing you along the way. So when you get out, not only are you nearly debt free, but you know how to do something that will earn you an income. I think that is such a cool concept, and those kinds of schools are starting to pop up. Anyway, I'll stop there.
No, I'll tell you what, it's fabulous. And, also Mike Rowe does How America Works.
Mhm,
That's fabulous. Both of these programs that he's done and doing, I mean, you can watch the reruns of Dirty Jobs, and
mhm,
his How America Works are really fabulous, covering, it's what makes not just America, but these are trades that are you around the world. Everybody has to have. You
mhm,
need an electrician, you need a plumber, carpenters,
mhm.
carpet linemen.
Yeah,
You can
HVAC.
go to line school and you come out and you're easy 100K a year,
Yeah.
easy 100K a year.
Right.
So it's
HVAC. Right. Um,
yeah, HVAC. There are so many. These are not jobs to look down on by
mhm,
any means. You know, I come from a family of construction workers, and I
mhm,
was a landscape contractor
mhm.
at another time of my life. So, and I'm very proud of that fact. You
And
know,
here's the other side of that. Looking at this from a more a larger perspective, this is like these are small. A lot of these are like small companies. Almost all of them are small.
yes.
So it's impossible to impose DEI and all this other like Wall Street crap on these small mom and pops. Small is beautiful, and we're much better off with a whole bunch of people working for a whole bunch of small companies than a handful of companies. Everybody works for them, which is what this college madness like drives you towards. Because you work for a few large companies, that's a that's an easy target for control. Like Lennon said, I control the railroads, I control the telephone telegraphs. I got it, and that's what we see happening here. That's a central tenet of the old Italian fascist version, where you work for a company and they control the companies, right?
Hmm.
So you're right back to square one. So that's a great thing about this, and I think we really need to get back to this as a society, make our own stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's what we need. And so I really, really like this story,
Mhm,
and that more people, he says on here that Gen Z is the next tool belt generation,
mhm,
because they're looking at colleges and going, I don't want to be in debt like that
yeah,
when I
and
can go and spend less money
mhm.
and come out financially ahead,
A
you
lot of
know?
it was nonsense before it went woke. And then and I'll also make this comment. I think Pat just made this comment about actual office work over paper shuffling. The
Yeah.
great thing about these businesses, when you leave work in the day, you've done something
Oh,
tangible that you
yeah.
can see. You've built something. You've
Mhm.
completed something, as opposed to shuffling a bunch of papers around. I think that's so there's more satisfaction in that. I think.
So I have to say, I loved it. As I was a landscape contractor, I did not mow lawns.
Hmm.
I built landscaping. It was all new construction for the
Hmm.
most part. Some of it was a little bit of remodel construction in the landscaping industry. But my
Hmm.
gosh, every day, even if it was all underground,
Hmm.
I had an accomplishment, and I loved it. I
Hmm.
never felt like I had to go to work. I
Yeah.
just loved what I did because it was all
Mhm.
different all the time.
Right. Sure. And that's awesome.
Yeah. So we have a story about Disney. Disney World has turned their park into a drag show for kids with a transgender Snow White character. And I have a hard time supporting anything with Disney when this is what they're supporting. Because as a person, as an adult, if that's what they want to do, they have every right to do that. And Disney as a business, heck, they have the right to do it too, right?
Hmm.
But me as a citizen, I don't have to partake,
Hmm.
because I do believe that those that are transgender in adulthood are such a minority that in our society. But why would Disney want to turn off the majority of people going to their parks for the DEI?
Well, there's a couple of thoughts here. I think it was Lenin said, "I'll give them the rope with which they will hang themselves." It might have been Khrushchev, right? But people are so lacking in principles that I want my goodies so much that I'm willing to support an organization that is destroying the country, that is destroying the moral fabric of our children. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, this is something you don't have to do. Yeah, I mean, I get it. We grew up with Disney and we have all these wonderful memories, but that's
Hmm.
not Disney anymore. I mean, so
No.
why are we paying for an outfit that's literally sabotaging the country? And the good news is they are losing a fortune. The bad news is who's supporting them? Somebody's funding them. I mean, no company goes and just loses money and just keeps doing the same thing, but that's what they're doing. I mean, you wonder the same thing about Bud Light as well. I mean, yeah, they've lost like 30% of their business or something, but they keep doing it anyway. Um, or at least in their case, uh, they've not they've not changed management and just apologized, gotten it behind them. And I just that part I'm not don't quite get. I have my
Well,
suspicions.
and in fact, so in 2022, in this article that I posted from PJ Media, Disney announced it would be removing gender requirements from different roles for characters in their parks in order to become more diverse. So there you are.
Hmm.
And it goes on to say that now Disney's gone a step further. A new video surfaced featuring what appears to be a man wearing the evil queen garb from Snow White at the character meet and greet dinner at
Hmm.
Walt Disney World. And this, for a small family, this is an expensive dinner at more than $300 to bring your kids in front of beloved characters. And but now Disney is using that experience to push transgenderism on children, and that I'm not okay with.
Right.
You
Well,
know what you do in your private life is in your private life, but now you're coming into, like, Disney's bringing this into the workplace and expecting that to be all okay.
mhm.
No,
Well, at the end of the day, people have to vote with their pocketbooks, and more people need to be cognizant of what their money's going to fund. I mean, look, I know you can't be perfect with everything you spend. There's no way that you can spend every dollar on the thing that fits your politics. But there's some things where it's pretty easy to do it, and
yes,
and this is one of them. Like in my case, I don't support the NBA because of the way they behaved over the last 5 years. I'm just not going to pay money to go to an NBA game or
no,
an NFL game. I just not going to do it because of how they behaved until they change their ways. Um,
that's
you know,
right. And
yeah,
our
it's
pocketbooks have effect,
mhm,
you
right.
know, and what we choose to spend our money on. And in fact, so much so, I don't know that it's true, but I read that there's on through like X on Twitter, formerly Twitter,
Mhm,
that there were a couple of actors that said, you know what, we're done with the woke Hollywood. We're going to make our own, industry, and that's on the following their morals and ethics and beliefs
mhm,
and more conservative. And I went, oh, I hope this is a good thing. I hope this
yeah,
is true and a
mhm.
good thing, because quite frankly, there's so many things that I just don't even watch. Go,
The
no,
thing is, yeah,
no, I don't want them to even have that. I
right,
don't. It doesn't cost me to watch the program,
yeah,
but it gives them ratings.
right, yeah. And this is the thing: we ought not be discouraged by if it's only a small percentage of people who are principled enough and have the courage to do this sort of thing. I was listening to talk radio on the way home today, and it was Riley Gaines, who was the gal that I think it was Penn University of Pennsylvania, the swim team.
Hmm.
And out of all those women, she was the only one who finally stepped forward and said that this isn't right. So during the interview that I was listening to today, they asked her, how many of her compadres had stepped forward or other people and other swim teams. It's like almost none have because they're scared to death that they will be doxxed and whatever else, and they won't get jobs and all of that sort of thing. And then when you step back and you think about that, yeah, that sounds like a big, gigantic threat. But relative to what others have done to stand on principles, it's a nothing burger. I mean, their lives aren't being threatened, for example. They're not being thrown in prisons, any of that stuff. And if we're not willing to take a little risk to keep our rights, we're not going to have any. I mean,
True.
at this moment, I mean, doing this show is a risk. You people listening to this is a risk to some degree. If we're not even willing to do that, then we don't deserve any freedom, given
True.
what given what our forefathers put up with. This is like
No.
nothing. Um,
N-
but it's always been a minority of people who've done this, though. So
Very true. Very, very, very true. And then there is. We're going to stick on to the drag and the gender issues for a couple of stories here.
oh,
Uh,
fun.
Virginia Public High School is going to host a drag brunch on May 4th. Virginia Public High School. Why?
See,
Why is that?
this is just completely degenerate. What's really shocking about this, though, I would say, is the percentage of parents who are either for this stuff or willing to go along with it. Now, I'm not sure what that percentage is, but I'm going to guess that probably half the people are just not willing to put up with the fuss, or just not willing to be called names, and so they just put up with it, um,
People
and
want to be liked,
they want
Don.
to be liked. That's absolutely right. And at some point, if you're going to stand up for something right, you are not going to be liked. That's just how it goes, right?
I don't know. Our audience likes us. Okay. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. That we're not going to all be, none of us are going to be liked by everybody, and it's
No.
perfectly fine.
Mhm,
So, at this West Potomac High School in Northern Virginia is set to host a drag brunch on Saturday,
mhm,
May 4th,
mhm.
before a showing of the vulgar LGBTQ musical Kinky Boots. Now, this
Nice.
is a taxpayer funded public high school,
Mhm,
and it's located just outside of Alexandria,
mhm,
and it's part of Fairfax County public school system. And they're selling tickets, $15 a person.
mhm.
And I would like to know why the school had to approve this
Sure, they did. Mhm.
in order to be selling tickets there. And it's
So who knows what's going on in the classroom there when parents aren't around to hear what they're teaching. Now, I'd love to know what their enrollment figures are like in that county in terms of what the change has been. Are they losing enrollment, that sort of thing? Because nationally, public school attendance is like dropping. People are going other places. The people that can and are thinking about it are either going private school or homeschool or some other hybrid thing, and that's huge. And to continue to do this and risk losing more students is kind of insane. But that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, it is. And so I guess they sent an email out, and I've never heard of this movie or
Mhm,
anything. And it says the musical contains strong language and mature content. Now, this
mhm,
is, I wonder what rated it is,
mhm.
Is this
Well, it
X
says
rated?
mature content. It's at least R. Not that that
And this
means
is high
anything.
school.
Hmm.
Why are they showing mature content at high school?
Yeah.
Um, It says the school showing of the controversial musical began today and will conclude on May 4th,
Mhm,
the day of the drag brunch. So, after the showing of Kinky Boots on Saturday, the 27th, there's a scheduled to be a half-hour long talk back with FCPS Pride. So, they're bringing that in because maybe they've got a handful of students that need to talk to some other people that are gay.
mhm.
I
See,
don't
see,
know.
see, 30 or 40 years ago, we were arguing about whether you could say the Pledge of Allegiance in the classroom or whether you could pray in school, right? And as conservatives rolled over on that, and here's where we are now. They will never stop coming, and
Right.
this is their religion.
Yeah, and so here you have Catholic lawyer Kathy Ruse noted that the drag event will be hosted at a public high school for the first time in the history of our county. That's a Fairfax County resident, and there are several faithful Catholics attended and prayed the rosary during the performance, and so there a Catholic group there is making a presence known during this, and good for them.
Yeah.
Good
Well,
for them
most of
because it
all,
takes getting out of your comfort zone
mhm,
and standing up for what's right.
yeah, two things need to happen there. One, that school board people need to go after that, and two, people need to start pulling the kids out of it. One
Yeah.
or both need to happen, and because these people aren't just going to roll over and change overnight. This is going to take a lot of pressure, a number of decades to get it done.
Well, you're absolutely right. And then we have a third story on the gender. We're on a gender bender tonight now, Don.
I like that.
A gender clinic whistleblowers reveal
Ah,
deception of public and parents about experimental hormone drugs for children on on Dr. Phil. And I have to commend Dr. Phil for talking about this.
mhm.
You know,
I
he
continue to be impressed with him. I didn't think he would. I didn't think he'd wind up on the right side of the fence on these kinds of things, but he is.
he is. He's I think his own moral clarity and what is right. He's putting his medical principles, I would say,
Mm,
before the dollar.
mm.
That's my appearance. And I had no idea, but, he is bringing this out. And so there's some whistleblowers at a children's hospital clinic. Um, and they are talking how this hospital had actually said we're quitting, we're not going to be doing this, and this is at Texas Children's Hospital.
Mhm,
And in March of 2022, the hospital said they would no longer provide hormone related interventions for transgender kids because of the legal risks.
mhm,
And he thought that that was done.
mhm.
But the whistleblower has said no. What happened is it was all just pushed under the rug, but
Mhm.
nothing changed.
Yeah.
Nothing changed.
Well, I tell you, if you have children or grandchildren, you really got to be on top of this whole medical establishment thing. Never let a doctor or a nurse get your child alone. They actually, there are some states. I'm not sure where Washington State is in this, but I know that they have to ask questions having to do with sex lives, to kids.
Hmm.
And at this point, I think you can be in the room when they ask it, but they ask it, which is completely inappropriate. That's the province of parents, but that's where we are. But you can bet your bottom line, if you're not in the room, they're going to go a lot further than that, and and that's how they do this grooming stuff. So you just be afraid of the medical establishment as you have to be afraid of the public school system.
And yes, absolutely. And it's being a parent and being present in all of these things and talking to the kids. And there's a study recently that came out that there is, it's been in this report that there has been no changes in gender dysphoria or body satisfaction were demonstrated as a result of the puberty blockers. And but and yet parents that are bringing their children to the hospital going, my kid is you're bringing them to clearly to a psychologist,
Yeah,
right?
right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And saying, well, this, my daughter, and predominantly it is young girls.
Hmm.
And so he talks about one visit I saw letters being written approving children for puberty blockers
Hmm.
or cross sex hormones after a single visit with a therapist that lasted 30 to 40 minutes.
Wow.
And the parents had little factual information to go on since gender clinic staff were regularly lying to them. And he says, we were lying to parents. We saw the lacerations when the parents said, have you seen any complications? No. Well, they're cutting themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
We knew we saw detransitioners, and when the parents said, "Do you see any that detransition?" we said no. And that's just not right. And so kudos to those that are bringing the truth out on this.
Hmm.
And because yes, they will be attacked, they will be doxxed, they might lose their job, but then that opens up a whole nother lawsuit.
Sure. Hmm.
Um, and 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 Dr. Phil for bringing the truth out on this.
Yeah. Yeah, because gone are the days when you can trust authorities to have your kids' best interests, in heart, or your best interests. They just simply don't. They're ideologically bound, and they're promoting their own religion. Which in this case is the politically correct morality of postmodernism. And you got to be vigilant when it
Yes.
comes to your kid, more so than you ever had to in the past. Um, that's just where we are.
Well, it is where we are. And so that's end of the gender bender episode. And, and sad but true, it's I'll tell you, it's something else. I had a couple of informative things quickly. One is this article that I saw in the Epic Times. Rejections of Chinese products goes global. More and more nations across the globe are looking to curtail imports of Chinese goods. And China is in economic free fall. You wouldn't know it by what's going on or what you're hearing about, but they are. And this is really hurting.
Yeah.
It's hurting China because before they could pressure nations, you've got to buy from us and whatnot. But that's apparently not the case. Although when I hear Biden say we're going to go all in with the green, I just think China,
Right.
that it's enriching them.
Sure, sure. And don't forget Biden and his cronies. I'm,
Yeah.
su- I'm sure those dollars managed to circulate their way back to the politicians as well. But uh,
Yes.
but I think you're absolutely right with regard to China. I mean, it's we never get any real news out of there from the national networks, but they are undergoing a tremendous, financial crisis. I mean, they built these cities in the middle of nowhere, and Russia did this. Soviet Union did this back in the day too, where they just build these cities in the middle of nowhere and expect people to like fill them. And you and I both know that's not how it works. So
Yeah.
now you got all these buildings in the middle of nowhere sitting empty. Huge infrastructure problems in terms of using cheap materials and bad construction design. And now you have these whole buildings and bridges just falling down after they've been in place 10 or 15 years, right? So you've got that huge problem. You've got this population free fall they're in due to the
Mhm.
policies that they implemented back in the 70s around, only one child per family. Well, now there's no kids. And you got this aging population. In fact, I think India is set to pass them in terms of population in the next, 4 or 5 years. Uh,
Mhm.
so they've got major problems, and we ought not do anything to help them fix them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much so, the resistance is not just confined to developed economies. Brazil, India, Indonesia, Chile, and Mexico have complained about Chinese dumping in steel, ceramics, and chemicals, and Chile's considering a 15% tariff on Chinese steel.
Mhm.
India has added Chinese bolts, mirrors, and vacuum insulated flasks to its dumping complaints. And Indonesia has done the same for synthetic yarns, saying that the flood of Chinese products has jeopardized its domestic industry. So they're pissing off a whole lot of the
Well,
world.
they've created. I don't know how many countries they got a border like around 11 or 12 different countries, and they've created an enemy out of every single one of them.
Yeah.
Uh, that whole thing with literal countries there, like gosh, Indonesia, Japan, uh,
Hmm.
North and South Vietnam, Korea. They've created all kinds of problems, and that's not a good thing. Um,
No,
it's not good to have lots of enemies.
no, no, it isn't. So, hey, I'm going to post some links here, and these are news sources that you might not be aware of. And the first one that I did is Oregon Watchdog, and they actually look at 15 different news sources and put some things together. And I often look for some stories, and not just in Oregon, but also around the nation. And then the other one, so something on Oregon Watchdog that is new. So Oregon Watchdog covers 20 different news sources daily.
Mhm.
And then they also have Taxpayer Association articles at Oregon Catalyst and the Oregon Tax News. So I've posted the Oregon Tax News there as well. And then the last one I'm going to post for you is, if you need some Republican talking points, is the RNC. Yes, the Republican National Committee, because they are doing what is called, they have these different talking points and Republican points. They have a news department, and they are bringing things up that are hitting Biden, of course, right? Like this one article that I was looking at, it says Biden's agenda equals tax hikes and inflation. And they give you some statistics like after President Trump's tax cuts, taxes were lowered for every income bracket with an average tax cut of $1,260 in 2018.
Huh.
About 90% of Americans saw their take home pay increase in 2018, and Americans' real median income grew by 5,000 in both 2018 and 19. Now, after Biden forced through his 1.9 trillion in new spending against the advice of economists, prices are up 19.4%. Some, of course, we know are a lot higher. The real average weekly earnings are down 3.9%, and the real median household income fell, doesn't give a figure, but it fell in both 2021 and 2022. So, and right now, Biden wants to raise the middle class taxes as part of the largest proposed tax hike in American history. So that is a um, source of information that you can go to.
Well, it's good to hear the statistics back up what obviously anyone feel. Anybody walking around can feel this.
Yeah.
Um, it's just about you walk into any. I think restaurants is where it's most obvious, but you see it in other things too. I mean, or fast food, or just regular, mom
Hmm.
and pop type, stores or restaurants, and it's like sticker shock. I mean, you're paying like $20 for a hamburger.
Right.
Um, it's crazy.
Well, so before the program, I told you about going into this little mom and pop place in another town. I'm not going to name the town because it's a very small town.
Hmm.
And I had a fabulous Philly cheesesteak, let me tell you, really, really good. And so then we asked for the bill, and he's writing it up.
Hmm.
And I see him write down the two sandwiches and the little French fries. And then he continues writing, and I'm going, well, what? I got a glass of water. Oh, the cup, but you know what? And so he charged for the water, charged for some extra condiments.
Hmm.
And he goes, I don't make the policy. And I said, it's okay, because actually the our meal was reasonably priced,
Hmm.
and the cost of all the stuff, and for this little business to stay in business, if that's what they got to do, I'm down with it,
Right,
because I
right.
went to a local little store instead of
Mhm,
going to the business, instead of
mhm,
going to the franchise, and
mhm.
I'm not bashing them, but the
Right.
franchise fast food places, I want
Mhm,
to help a smaller business in a community, and so that's what we try to do. Yeah, I was at the grocery store today, and I walked out with $109 worth of stuff, and I went, "What? You know, what?"
Yeah, it's
I had 2
breathtaking.
gallons of milk, some
Mhm.
vegetables. Now, okay, look, I did buy 3 steaks.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
You evil woman. Why
I
aren't you why aren't you eating that grass?
No, I do. I am. You see, they are herbivores, and they turn the grass into beef. And so I am eating a grass-fed diet. Yeah, and so our little grocery store, not too far from me, it's not
Mhm,
a name brand grocery store. They have
mhm,
now got in fact, I'll give it's Andy's Market in College
mhm,
Place. I will
mhm,
give them a plug. They have a
mhm.
new meat market.
Uh-huh.
And this is a where you go get organic vegetables, all kinds of vegetables, and but
Mhm,
it's pretty much organic and vegetarian. Well, they
mhm,
started carrying meat, and I'm
mhm,
talking real meat. They also have the other things,
mhm,
the tofu type stuff.
mhm,
I don't know that they carry any Beyond Meat. I really don't know, because that's not my what
mhm.
I like, so I haven't
Yeah.
investigated that. But they
Mhm,
have things in bulk. It's a fabulous grocery store.
mhm,
So this is now the second time I've been to the meat market there, and
mhm,
the first time I bought some steaks. I
mhm,
Even though I get a cow, I'm
mhm,
out of some cuts of beef, all right,
mhm.
and I
Right.
wanted a
Yeah.
particular steak, right? Yeah, I still have hamburger and some roasts,
Uh-huh.
and I told the butcher, I said, these were so good.
Now, do
I'm
they?
getting a different cut, and it's
Yeah.
from a particular ranch. It's
Mhm.
not, anyway, very, very happy. I love Andy's
Yeah,
Market.
that's not now. Where you are, do they require that you get a certain kind of bag to take it out of the store?
I
Do you have
bring
those
my own.
arrangements? Okay.
Otherwise, they charge you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Otherwise, they
another
charge you, and so and
irritating
then that's the
environment.
the law now, right,
Uh-huh.
in Washington and Oregon.
Uh, that's another one of those give them an inch sort of things. We all just said, "Oh, let them have it," right? But they'll never stop. Now you can't even get a bag at the store. It's
Well,
like
you can get a
unbelievable.
bag at the store, but you'll pay for it. But I will
Right.
tell you, I heard, I saw a little headline that with the plastic bag ban in
Mhm.
California, Washington, and Oregon, they are actually using more plastic
I
because
saw that.
like Oregon banned single-use plastic bags, so now they're
Mhm.
like industrial strength.
Uh-huh.
So you can still get a plastic bag, but it's not the single use ones. You have to pay a dime.
Uh-huh.
I have my own.
Yeah.
And and but now we're using and consuming more plastics
More
than we
plastic.
were giving away single use bags that everybody used for their trash cans too.
But we're virtue signaling, so it's all good.
Yeah.
The
Oh
objective is
yeah.
never to solve a problem.
I
It's
know.
it's
I
never to
know.
solve the problem that they say they're solving. You just have to be aware of that, just like the names of the outfits never represent the outfits, right?
That's a fact.
National Organization for Women was never about women.
No, 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 it wasn't. And so, hey, everybody, thank you for being with us. Share the message, share on Facebook and Twitter, and tell your friends about us. We're glad to have you as our audience. Glad you're here. And I will tell you, Friday is I won't be here. Kevin will be here. He's got a special guest, and I'm actually going to take my mom to a doubleheader game so she can watch her great granddaughter play baseball.
What a
So
gift.
that's where I'm going. Yeah.
What a
Got to
gift.
have fun and live life.
Absolutely.
So thanks, everybody, and good night.